Ever noticed how corn from a street vendor or a roadside stall tastes way better than the one you boil at home? You buy fresh corn, boil it the usual way, just water, maybe a bit of salt, but it still turns out bland, or the texture's just off. Meanwhile, the corn you get outside is soft, naturally sweet, and full of flavor. So what's the difference? Are they using a secret ingredient, or is it just a better method? That's exactly why I made this video, to show you a simple but smart way to boil corn, so it turns out sweet, tender, and full of natural flavor without needing to add sugar or any extras. If you've ever been a little disappointed with homemade corn, you're going to want to try this. And by the way, how do you usually boil corn at home? I'd love to hear your method, so feel free to drop it in the comments below. Let's get started. All right, before we start cooking, let's prep the corn because a few small steps here can make a big difference in how your corn turns out. First, when you're buying corn, choose ears that still have their husks on. You want husks that are bright green, slightly damp, and tightly wrapped around the kernels. The silk sticking out the top should be golden, soft, and not too dry or dark. Now, when it comes to peeling, don't strip off all the husks. Gently remove the tougher outer layers, but leave one or two of the inner layers on the ones that are softer and lighter in color. Keeping part of the husk on acts as a natural barrier, which helps protect the kernels from coming into direct contact with boiling water. This helps the corn cook more evenly, keeps the natural sugars from leaching out into the water, and results in sweeter, more flavorful corn. Plus, the husk helps trap steam and moisture, kind of like a built-in steamer. It also adds a subtle, earthy aroma while cooking something you totally miss if you peel everything off. So peel off the dry outer layers. Keep the tender inner ones. It's a small step, but it really does make the difference between average and excellent corn. Once you've trimmed the husks, the next step is to cut off a small part of the tip and the base just about 1/2 inch on each end. Cutting off the tip helps remove any dry or undeveloped kernels, which can be tough and not very pleasant to eat. And trimming the stem end or the base makes the ear of corn easier to fit in your pot, especially if you're cooking multiple pieces at once. Now, let's talk about the corn silk, those fine thread-like strands tucked between the husk and the kernels. A lot of people remove all of it right away, thinking it's just for looks or that it'll get messy in the pot. But actually, it's a good idea to keep most of the silk on during cooking. Why? Because corn silk contains natural oils and compounds that can enhance the aroma and sweetness of the corn as it boils. It acts like a subtle flavor booster. Plus, once the corn is fully cooked, the silk softens and becomes much easier to remove, especially if you wipe it with a towel or pull it off while it's still warm. All right, now that your corn is prepped, husks trimmed, ends cut, and silk mostly intact, let's move on to cleaning it properly, and that starts with a good soak. First, take a large bowl, basin, or clean sink, anything big enough to hold all your corn with room for water. Place your corn inside and then sprinkle in about 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Not too much, just enough to help with the cleaning. Now here's the important part. Add cold or room temperature water until the corn is fully covered. You want the water to be deep enough that the corn can move around a bit and be completely submerged once you weigh it down. Before soaking, give the water a quick stir with your hand to help the salt dissolve completely. You shouldn't see salt sitting at the bottom, it should mix in well with the water. Once the salt is dissolved, lightly rub the outside of each ear of corn with your hands. You don't need to scrub or use a brush, just a gentle massage around the surface to help clean off any dust or debris. Do you usually wash corn like this? Or is this your first time trying the salt soak method? Let me know in the comments. I'm always curious how others do it at home. Now, because corn floats, you'll want to keep it fully submerged to get the most out of this soak. A simple trick. Take a clean plate, bowl, or any small flat object with a little weight and place it directly on top of the corn. That will gently press everything down so it stays fully underwater. Let the corn soak like this for about 10 minutes. That gives the salt water enough time to do its job, loosening any dirt, freshening up the corn, and softening the silk for easier cleanup. After that, take the corn out, pour out the water, and give each ear a quick rinse under clean running water. And that's it. Clean, fresh, and ready for the pot. Quick question before we move on. Have you ever soaked your corn like this before? Or is this your first time trying it? I'd love to know what you think. Now let's get to cooking. Take a large pot and place the corn directly inside. Once the corn is in the pot, add about 1 teaspoon of salt. Now, here's the thing with salt, you only want to use a small amount. Just enough to enhance the natural flavor of the corn. Too much salt can actually make the kernels a little tough, so don't go overboard. This might surprise you, but baking soda is a great little trick. It helps keep the corn looking bright yellow and makes the kernels a bit softer and silkier without falling apart. And just curious, have you ever tried using baking soda when boiling corn before? If this is new for you, let me know what you think in the comments. Now it's time to add water, and this part matters more than you might think. Use cool or room temperature water, not hot. Why? Because adding hot water right away can shock the corn, and that often leads to uneven cooking. The outside might cook too fast while the inside stays a bit underdone. Starting with cold water allows the corn to warm up gradually, giving you a much better texture. Pour just enough water to cover the corn, or come right up to the top layer. You don't need to flood the pot just enough so the corn is mostly submerged. Put the lid on the pot, then turn on the stove and set the heat to high. Let the water come to a full boil. You'll see big bubbles rolling, that's your cue. Once it's boiling, reduce the heat to medium. Keep it at a steady, gentle boil, not too aggressive. This helps the corn cook through without splitting or getting rubbery on the outside. So how long should you boil it? If you're using young, tender corn, boil for about 7 to 10 minutes. If the corn is older or a bit tougher, let it go for 12 to 15 minutes. And during that time, keep the lid on. It traps the steam and helps the corn cook evenly from top to bottom. All right, once the corn is done boiling, whether you did 10 or 15 minutes, depending on how fresh it is, it's time to take it off the heat. Go ahead and turn off the stove and carefully remove the lid. Be mindful of the steam. It can be hot. Now here's an important step. Don't leave the corn sitting in the hot water. Instead, use tongs to lift the corn out right away and place it on a plate, tray, or cooling rack. Why is this important? If you leave the corn soaking in the water, especially while it's still hot, it can keep cooking, and overcooked corn tends to get mushy, watery, or even lose its sweetness. Taking the corn out immediately helps lock in the perfect texture, soft, juicy, but not soggy. Let it sit for a few minutes to cool slightly. Then it's ready to enjoy. And let's take a moment to talk about the result, because when you boil corn this way, the difference is real. The kernels come out plump and juicy, almost like they're bursting with sweetness when you bite into them. They're soft and tender, but not mushy. There's still a gentle bite that gives it that perfect texture. And the flavor? It's naturally sweet, buttery, and fragrant. You can smell it as soon as you lift the lid. In fact, it's so good, you might not even feel the need to add butter or seasoning. It holds up beautifully on its own. It's that kind of corn that makes you pause after the first bite and think, wow, why didn't I do it like this sooner? Before you toss that pot of water, you just boiled your corn. And wait a second, you might be pouring away something surprisingly good for your body. That sweet golden liquid. It's not just leftover cooking water, it's corn water, and it's actually packed with natural goodness. During the boiling process, a lot of the corn's nutrients like B vitamins, potassium, magnesium, and even antioxidants gently release into the water. It also contains a light amount of fiber from the husks and silk, and natural sugars that give it a slightly sweet, earthy flavor. So instead of tossing it, why not drink it warm? It's calming, light, and has a gentle sweetness that makes it almost feel like a natural tea. Many people find it soothing for digestion, and some even use it as a gentle, natural way to hydrate and feel full. Not into drinking it straight? No worries, you can also reuse corn water as a nutrient-rich base for soups, or even use it to cook rice or porridge. It adds subtle flavor and boosts the nutritional value of whatever you're making. Just make sure you didn't oversalt the pot, and if you're planning to drink it, let it cool to a comfortable temperature first. So next time you boil corn, remember, don't pour the goodness down the drain. That water still has something to offer. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new today, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It really helps more people find these simple kitchen tips. And if you'd like to see more easy, practical cooking like this, from everyday recipes to little tricks that make a big difference, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you won't miss the next one. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.